Now joining us here on Golf Talk Canada, someone who won on PGA Tour Americas a little earlier this year, Jay Card III, now joins us. Jay, welcome to Golf Talk Canada.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's great to chat with you, and you got a W a couple months ago here, and we couldn't have you on the show right after, so we thought we'd have you on right now to discuss it. So a couple months ago, you got the dub. As you look back and reflect on that week, what went right for you to get the W?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just had to do with being patient, and it's so hard to, get ready to play, tee off on Thursday, and then all of a sudden, like, you're not playing on Thursday, and then you're playing a hole and a half on Friday. Like, that's always kind of difficult. But I don't know. I just kind of like flushed it all week. Or even my roommate told me afterwards. We were playing a practice round with Jake and Patrick Newcomb, and Jake looked over Patrick and said, "I think he's going to win this week. Like, he's hitting it so good." Like, it was just kind of everything was flush, and my numbers were pretty solid at elevation, and just got hot and stayed hot for 35 holes, which is pretty crazy. But it was an awesome week.
Yeah, and the stop-start nature of it, good on you for staying focused throughout. Now, you mentioned playing at elevation. Just how different were some of your numbers that week?
It was really different, especially because I launched it pretty high. So I think I was playing like 17%, like with my irons, and then driver I was kind of doing some crazy things with. It was kind of a golf course where I felt like I was hitting 4-iron or driver. And when I was hitting driver, like, you're kind of cutting some corners and, doing some crazy stuff that, you don't really do a ton like at sea level or, at a lot of these golf courses now without trees. I was launching driver at like, 20 degrees, which is, I don't even know what that is, like a 9-iron for me or something right now. Like, and it was just kind of, it's crazy. And then, if you're hitting like a 3/4 shot, it might be going like 13%. So you're constantly just sitting there trying to figure out what you want to do and, just kind of trusting that your math is right.
Just getting the mental calculator out there. Is there one drive in particular that went, an absurd distance?
Yeah. So I feel like the quad goes like a little further, like, with their algorithm than it might go in person. But I was feeling pretty hot on the 17th hole, and I think there was a bunker down there at like 374. And I was like, we're like feeling good. Let's just hit driver and push it down there. I think I flew that, and it ended up like 15 yards past that. So I thought that was something a little out of the norm. But I'm glad it didn't go like too far into trouble, because as soon as you start looking in the yardage book, it's stuff past 370. It just doesn't feel real. So I'm glad it was just safe.
Kind of feels like you're playing a video game at that point, but no, good on you, man. That's a really cool mentality, and obviously to get the win the way you did, the stop-start playing at elevation. But what kind of relief did you feel? What kind of satisfaction did you feel when you lifted that trophy for your first pro win? Because I know, Jay, this has been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's been kind of a crazy, unusual journey. I don't know. It's just kind of like, a lot of the sacrifices my parents made for me to be here, the hours and hours that I worked at these golf courses, like washing carts so I could practice to, get better and, chase my dream. It's just it was amazing, but it was also, kind of like helped fuel the fire a little bit, where it's like, all right, like, this is great, but like, I want more, I don't want this to be like, the win. It's just kind of like, you're hungry for it. And then, watching Miles win this last week, which is awesome. It's just kind of, I want to like, just kind of keep winning up at the next level. So like, it was a sense of relief, but it's like, all right, like, I want to get my Korn Ferry card back. Like, I want to keep going to the next level and keep going. And, it was great. I got to like, soak it in for like a little bit. I had 2 beers with some guys afterwards, and then, there wasn't much celebrating because it was kind of back to work the next week, but, no, there was nothing really like it.
Now, you mentioned motivation there, and Miles Creighton, the Canadian, obviously winning on Korn Ferry last week. J.J. Spawn won the U.S. Open. He's gone through PGA Tour Canada, which is what PGA Tour Americas used to be. But how much motivation does that give you to see a guy like J.J. Spawn, sort of this unheralded player who's come up through the ranks, who's had some struggles in his career. Now he's a U.S. Open champion. How much motivation does that give you to work hard each and every day?
It's great, because I think it also shows you that, golf is one of those like crazy games where, I feel like tennis, the higher seed like wins a crazy majority of the time. But golf, it doesn't really matter, like, where you came from, how you got there. Like, as long as you put the numbers up, like, that's what I love about the game, right? I didn't really play in college, and like that doesn't really matter like this week if I go out and put up some good numbers. But, it's crazy to see that there's so many different ways to get it done. And it's just, I don't know, it's something that I can kind of like look forward to and, kind of keep in the back pocket, just even like looking around at other guys who have done it, it's, you never really know like when it's going to be your time. So that's just kind of like, whether it's just that blind optimism of like, like, why not me? But it's good to see. Like, I love those stories.
It's a great mentality to have. We're in conversation here with Jake Hart III, who won on PGA Tour Americas a little earlier this year. Now, the Canadian swing, North American swing, isn't too far away on PGA Tour Americas. Just how much are you looking forward to getting back into the swing of things here?
I'm really looking forward to it, especially, I grew up in New York, so kind of getting back on some Benton Poana greens and, some kind of some whatever kind of grass we have in the fairways up there, fescue bluegrass, or it just kind of feels like I'm playing at home, like I'm playing some Long Island golf again. And it's kind of one of those like little things you take for granted too when you're traveling in South America. Like, it's hard, just trying to like communicate or get around. And I speak some like very basic Spanish, and all of a sudden I'm like the translator for a couple friends when we go out to dinner. And I wouldn't really put that on me, but it's kind of the best we had at the time. So just kind of like the little things, like having a rental car, just being able to communicate. It's like one of the, basic human skills that like we kind of take for granted in the moment. And, I'm really looking forward to like the style of golf we play up there. And then also, just being able to hang out with the guys again. It's been a long month without my friend Jake.
Yeah, no, totally. And so like during this time off, how much have you been balancing rest and not to get too rusty? Like, are you playing money games with guys? Are you in the gym a bunch? Are you practicing a bunch? How have you been spending your time to get ready for the North American swing?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I went back home to New York and I played the Long Island Open, and I actually won that, which is pretty cool. And then I had a member guest at the golf course I grew up at where I was the guest. So we got to soak it in. And, I love playing in member guests or just like hanging out with the guys where it doesn't really matter what you shoot. We'll go out there, have some beer and, whether it's, some kind of wolf game, but it's just, I don't know, it kind of takes the pressure off where, it's still this game that like I love playing. And sometimes I have to like, turn off my like professional golf brain and just remember like, why I love this thing that I get to do. So it's been balancing that and, seeing some other friends and family, while I've had this time because, it's a tough schedule. When we go on the road for, 2 weeks or 3 weeks at a time or something like that, like we're always hopping around. So, it's been pretty nice to, go to the gym, just get in a good routine, do a little bit of practice, but, we're definitely going to ramp it up this week. But I've just tried to like have some fun with it. I'll stay like a little disciplined, but, definitely like trying to make sure that I still love the game. That's really important to me.
100%. Now, Jay, you're a man of many talents. You're a golfer. You're a Spanish translator now, as you've now learned this year. But I understand that music is also a big part of your life. Do I have this right, that you are a trained opera singer and you've performed at places like Carnegie Hall and the Vatican?
Yeah. No, that is very true.
Okay. How'd you get into music?
So where I grew up in New York was a really small town. I had 15 kids in my graduating high school class in a public school, and you needed bodies. Like we had like 10 guys on the baseball team, maybe 6 or 7 guys on the basketball team, and I had an older sister who did everything, so I did everything. I did band and choir, and I wasn't recruited out of high school, so I thought golf wasn't really in the cards, and I got an academic scholarship and thought I wanted to be a doctor, and then I got to school and I realized I hated going to class. Med school was probably not a good decision. And I was thinking about maybe dropping out or not. And my parents said, stick it out, get a degree, and then you can figure it out like after school. And, music is something I've always done my whole life. And I joined choir my freshman year because I thought it'd be a great way to make some friends. And, being a guy who could sing in a room with maybe some guys who can't sing, probably doesn't hurt. So, I kind of did that. And then, my professors, really kind of like pushed me into it. Say, hey, like, you're pretty good at this. And it was one of the hardest but most rewarding experiences like I've ever had. There's nothing quite like standing up and, singing in front of 1,500 people. I would much rather, hit a golf shot in front of, a couple thousand, 10,000 people than stand up there and solo in front of 1,500 people again.
Oh, man, that's wild. Well, it's funny because I'm actually getting married on Saturday, and we leave on our honeymoon on Monday to Italy. So we're going to be at the Vatican. Do you have any tips for us?
Oh, I think I remember there was something about this secret bakery somewhere in Rome, I think. Okay. I forget where it was, but it's they start the bakeries really early. So if you find yourself a late night in Rome, I don't know if that's something you can research, but I just love the old architecture out there. I mean, the fact you could go to the Colosseum and you're hey, man, people used to come here on a Tuesday night to watch someone die. That was entertainment back in the day. It's just kind of an amazing thing to soak all it in, or looking up at the Sistine Chapel and even some of these churches down the side streets, just the level of craftsmanship that they had back in the day. Looking around it, just all the fine details and just how beautiful everything is. It's really incredible over there. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, I can't wait to get there, and it's been really cool getting to know you here, Jay. And before we sign off, we have a tradition here on Golf Talk Canada. We always have the winners on PGA Tour Americas join our show. So what do you say? You get another W on the North American Swing, and you join the show again.
That sounds great. I'd love to talk to you again.
Awesome. Well, hey, man, congratulations on your success here. All the best here in the North American Swing, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
All right, awesome. I appreciate it. I hope it's not too far away.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Jay Card III, winner on PGA Tour Americas and an opera singer. That was a really cool interview.